name is Acevedo, and this is my budget analysis presentation. The organization I picked was the South Broward Hospital District, officially named South Broward Hospital District DBA Memorial Healthcare System. It operates in the southern part of Broward County in Florida. It consists of 6 different hospitals, and we'll be looking at the operational budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. And there it is. So the budget components that would affect patient outcome would be charity care revenue, because if we have money to give to patients to pay for their bill, they're going to be more focused on getting better and less likely to leave AMA. Salary and wages and employee benefits. If you have poor salary and a low salary and poor benefits, it's more likely you're not going to attract a lot of staff members, and we know that if you have a higher nurse to patient ratio, you're going to have more complications. And then things that would impact patient care would be supply services and other operating expenses. Part of other operating expenses is maintenance of equipment. So if you don't have good maintained equipment or the supplies needed, it's going to impact patient care. So the budget determines what type of patients can stay or be transferred due to the resources available or the number of staff. Hospitals with older generation equipment can lead to an increased risk of complications or risk of delay if equipment is not maintained regularly due to a lack of budget. And then the ratio of nurse to patient has had a noted effect. Higher nurse to patient ratio has an increased risk of incidences of nosocomial infections acquired in the hospital, post-operative sepsis, the incidences of pressure ulcers, and the mortality rate due to congestive heart failure. People part of the budget of planning and maintenance and creating are people like the chief financial officer, who oversees and manages the organization's financial activities, planning, analysis, reporting, and compliance. They also manage cash flow, identify and assess financial risk, and help create and implement strategies to overcome them. The chief operating officers oversee the day-to-day function of the organization, manage finances, and improve efficiency while reducing cost. The head of the departments manage the department's operations and budgets. They also implement and monitor strategies related to the budget and policies. And then the financial analysts plan, budget, and forecast through research. So when a new budget is being proposed, it starts with the planning. Budget proposals are submitted by department heads to be reviewed by the financial analysts along with the CFO. They review the proposed budget and make revisions before approving, and then it is approved. And then once it's in the execute phase, the operating officers and the department head implement and monitor budgets. And then the post-budget review, budget managers and department heads submit their data to the financial analysis and the CEO again, so that they can use that data next year when the new budget is being planned. So once the budget is approved, they are going to have meetings about it. These meeting times and locations are posted online. The budgets are also posted on their website, although they're not up to date. Currently, the more latest one is for 2023 to 2024. The one for this year has not been posted online. And then, of course, they will send emails to certain people, not all staff. They'll send to the CFO, the operating officers, the department heads, and the financial analysts over the information of the budgets. So cost of budgets and operationals budget. Expected are taxes. We have to pay our taxes. Salary and wages and employee benefits. You have to pay your employees. Charity care is on here because we know we're going to get some kind of money, but obviously you don't know how much. And then depreciation and amortization, that is just, your equipment is going to cost less or depreciating because it's getting older and new things are coming. And then amortization, you're going to have to pay back what you owe on items. And then supplies and services, of course, you need supplies and services to keep business running. Unexpected are patient charges, which is basically whether a patient pays for their bill or not, and that's included as patient charges that patients aren't going to pay. And then less deductions from revenue is just random things that honestly they don't really go into detail online or during my conversation with during the interview. And then investment incomes, you really can't predict what the stock market's going to do. So expenditures is next. So capital is an investment in physical assets, while the unit is the cost of day-to-day operations, such as supplies and services or salary and wages. The unit cost of supplies is an issue due to inflation, due to tariffs being introduced this year, or increased costs due to demand with low stock, as what was happening during COVID. Part of the supplies include implants, medical supplies, blood, robotic supplies, and organ acquisition expenses. These budgets affect what is available to staff and what services they can provide and how often. Services include items such as security, technical imaging, dialysis, and perfusion services. Services and supplies affect patient care because patients can only receive what the hospital has and what the hospital has. Some hospitals may have new versions of items that are more effective, precise, and have fewer complications. With the upcoming inflation, salary and wages must be reviewed to prevent overspending. Salary and wages can be reduced by hiring more staff, as more staff can reduce overtime pay for regular staff who want to pick up and reduce the need for external agencies to fill roles within companies like travel nurses. A lack of staff can also increase mistakes and increase dissatisfaction with patients towards staff, and then decrease the quality of care. And then due to the new tariffs being introduced, financial analyst members need to do research on supplies and services from certain countries, as the countries they buy from may not be the most cost effective. Example is items like gloves, masks, and foods. The healthcare system can also make changes quickly to reduce a dramatic increase in costs if a new tariff is introduced, and now you're spending $4 on gloves instead of $2, and you can quickly say, oh, I remember this country has lower tariffs, so we're going to go with these set of gloves. And then department heads must complete inventory weekly to ensure staff is using equipment to scan supplies to bill appropriately and minimize loss. Offering incentives to unit staff members with the least amount of shrinkage can also help motivate staff to comply with the scanning system so that they can bill the items later. And then for the recommendations for the fiscal year, we can focus on salary and wage reduction by implementing a predictable hiring model to prevent staff shortages, reduce the use of agency nurses, and reduce overtime pay. The model includes the use of current staff to cover vacancies, ready now, productive employees to fill when someone leaves their role and planning career paths for current staff to anticipate the role of upcoming known vacancies. A study done in 2016 shows that this model can reduce the use of agency nurses, and it did reduce them by 80% between 2017 and the first quarter of 2018. The hospital that was part of this study also was found by August of 2018 to be free of agency nurses, and a reduction of $185,000 from their budget by the end of the second year, a decrease in patient falls and hospital-acquired pressure injuries. And then the scenario presented, I would cut the areas of supplies and services. I would noted not just in this organization, but in others, the use of brand name foods for snacks and meals. Using cheaper off-brand could save money, and if the organization or facility owns the vending machines in the building, they can offer brand name foods in there, which if the patients really want brand name stuff, they would have to buy the premium vending machines, making more money for the organization. If the organization does not own it, it can allow more vending machines in the building and increase the cost for the vendors to operate. For areas, for different departments, I would also change supplies depending on the department. Example of this would be different quality gloves between custodians, dietary staff, and nursing staff. Custodians don't really need to use the same quality of gloves to clean tables as the nursing staff would need when they come in contact with blood or when cleaning up bodily fluids. Salary and wages, I would not touch because I wouldn't want to accept the workers, which would lead to a increase in turnover. There has been studies done that show just in nursing turnover in the U.S. can cost as much as $21,000 to $88,000. Depreciations and amortizations is an asset value, and we can't really touch that because we need to pay our debt, and we can't really make a machine that's 5 years old be as costly as one that just came out, as value as the one that just came out. I'm sorry. With other operating expenses, since maintenance is part of that, maintenance and upkeep are part of that, I would also not touch because I want those machines to be working as long as possible, and we don't have to be buying new machines every year. But I would reduce the use of outside agencies to fill certain roles, such as travel nurses or outside IT, and we would rely more on internal workers. In conclusion, budgets help this organization and others predict expenses and help allocate funds, but this can only be done if effective planning is done. Budgets not only predict profit, but also can help also has an effective impact on health practices and patient care. Strategies exist to maintain a working organization when budgets are need to be cut, but being well informed about global affairs is also important to have an effective strategy. And there's my references.